Hi, thank you for joining me today, and thank you so much for making music today with your little ones. I really appreciate you joining me today. And this is a full disclosure, this topic is not going to be like the usual musical topics. It's still kind of inherently musical, but it's more about my personal experience and something that I'm going through right now. And it's going to kind of be more of a niche topic. But I created this page mostly for the love of music and sharing, fun, simple songs with your kids that you can just make as a part of your normal routine. But the other portion of creating this page for me was so that it could be a cathartic healing experience with music, because as a mother, I left my career as a music teacher so that I could focus fully on my son. And I don't regret it at all. I would much rather have had this time with him because it's something that I couldn't have gotten back. And it's a very personal choice. Some mothers are going to choose to continue their career and they're able to do both, and that's awesome. I am just not that kind of person. I am someone where I give everything to whatever it is that I'm doing, and I knew that if I stayed, that I wasn't going to be able to give that kind of attention to my children. Not to say that someone else couldn't do both, because they absolutely can. But I just knew for myself that I wasn't going to be able to do that. And so because I also created this page as a way to be a healing experience for me through music, this is part of that journey. So I feel like I kind of just need to talk about it a little bit, and you are welcome to stay if you want, but you don't have to, and that's okay too. So this conversation is going to be about career loss and mourning as a mother, which some people will be able to connect to. And if you are a parent who decided to stay at work and you were wondering kind of what the other side of the coin would have been if you would have stayed home, this might also be an interesting topic for you as well. So I'm going to kind of just go over the career that I had and kind of explain the elements of it that I really enjoyed and why it meant so much to me and why it was so desperately hard for me to leave and to hand it over to somebody else. So after I graduated from Radford, I was looking for music jobs, and I was just seeing if, something was available. And lo and behold, the high school choral position was open. And it was the high school that I graduated from. And a really big goal of mine when I was in college getting my degree to be a music teacher was I wanted to give back in some way to make music accessible for kids regardless of economic standing. And it's a pretty rural area, and some of the students who may be wanting to do things may not always have the financial capability to do so. And so as a teacher, that was one of my main goals, was to make music accessible to anyone and everyone who wanted to be a part of it. And when I saw that had that opening, I was ecstatic and I immediately applied for it, and I got an interview, and then I got the job, and it was just it was literally a dream come true. As someone who had just graduated college, I got to step right into my dream role, which does not happen for a lot of people, but it did for me. And it was, starting there, the program had a music teacher, but it hadn't had a choir teacher in a while. And so when I stepped into that role, I was basically recreating the entire choral program from the ground up. And coming into that, I wanted to bring the traditional role of what a choir classroom is and what the experience is back, because they were kind of existing without that for a while. So when I say I built it from the ground up, I mean it was the ground. And the kids that were there had already gone through so many teachers. The kids were just really needing somebody who was willing to put in the work to be their choir teacher and a classroom teacher, and to start providing that experience for them, because some of the older kids there remembered what it was like to have a choir teacher and then they left, and then they kind of went without consistency for a while. And I felt like that was coming in as the first year teacher, like that was my main job, was to come in and to provide just stability for them. Something that was safe, that felt like home in the music classroom. Because if you've ever been a part of music or been a music teacher, you know that your classroom is, or the music classroom is like, can be one of the only safe places for kids, where they feel at home, where they feel like they can express themselves. And so that was my job. And also to teach music and all the things, but also to provide that space for them. And as you know, it being my first year teaching, it takes time to build those relationships with the students. And that's always the fear, is if, you know, you come into that role and they've had somebody else for a little while, you worry, you know, are they going to like me? Are we going to get along? How long is it going to take before we can start, you know, branching off and doing things that require trust from each other? Because that's a really big element in the music classroom, is you have to trust each other to be on the same page and know that you're on the same page. And also to be vulnerable, because music making can be a very vulnerable thing, especially when you're using your voice, because you have nothing to hide behind. And those kids, man, they were just so receptive, and I could not have asked for better students, both my first year and then continuing on from there. And they just really went with everything that I implemented. They were very passionate. They just really enjoyed being a part of music, and they were willing to put in the work to make the program better and to build it. And so for 2 years that I was there, I had built a really strong foundation for music. I got to introduce the students to new opportunities that they had never done before, like taking them to assessment and just providing them with things that were new to them that would make the program more exciting and enriching. And it's just, the longer that you're there, the more you get used to how the routine of things are. You get used to the students, you get used to the staff, you get to meet family members when you're a music teacher, because unlike some other teachers, the students that you have, you can continue to have throughout your time there. That's what's so special about being a music teacher, is those relationships, they last throughout the entirety of their time at the school. And then, as with all teachers, it lasts beyond that. You always have that relationship with the student. And over my time teaching, I really built some really great relationships with the kids. I got into a great routine of things. I had finally felt confident and comfortable in my role. And I had put in like thousands and thousands of hours of planning and making my own classroom resources and lesson material, and making and catering things to my kids, which you have to do when you're a teacher, because just doing regular old things don't just work all the time. You have to cater it to your own kids and how they learn. And so I put in a tremendous amount of work, not just to the choral program, but the other music classes that I was teaching. And I did it because I wanted to, and because I cared about the kids, and I wanted them to have the best musical experience possible. But it takes a lot out of a person to provide so much and to be so much. And I've always just kind of been the person where, like, I think I go too far sometimes when it comes to doing things and providing things. And I overdo myself. And so when I got pregnant the first time, my second year teaching, it was a complete surprise, and it was really hard to keep that a secret. Like, all you want to do is tell people, but Walker and I had never had kids before, and I had never been pregnant before, so I had no idea how it was going to go. And keeping that secret from the kids is hard too, because like, you're in the classroom with them all the time. And so like, when you're going through morning sickness and things like that, it's really hard to hide from them. So I'm surprised that I got away with it for as long as I did. And I did end up miscarrying our first pregnancy. And going through that as well while teaching was also very hard. And teaching has always been a way for me to heal from painful things that have happened. So like my first year I started teaching, my grandma passed like 3 days before school was going to start. And I could have taken bereavement and I could have stayed home, but I wanted to be there for the kids on day one, and I wanted to start creating relationships with them. And actually being there and planning and doing those things at the high school was actually, I think, more beneficial and healing for me than like just staying home and just like, eating ice cream out of the tub and just like crying. So it was actually, I think, more healing for me to be at work than it was for me to just be at home and just, be in my feels about everything. And for the miscarriage though, that was a whole different physical experience that required healing on my end. And because my students didn't know about it, I kind of just like blipped and disappeared for like 3 days, and then I just came back. And then I felt like I couldn't tell them about it because they didn't know. And also that's a hard conversation. And so I was actually grateful that I didn't tell my kids beforehand about it, just because that would have been a very difficult topic to have discussed with them in the moment. And so, I went about my business and I just tried to do the best that I could and to be the best teacher that I could while I was also, going through that. So anyway, about 2 months later, I get pregnant again with Rustin, and I go through all the things, the morning sickness and all the things, and I'm trying to hide it from the kids. And once we get to the, I want to say I was 6 months pregnant. We made the decision to, and that in and of itself was actually healing for me, because I got to tell my kids about Rustin and how excited we were to have a baby. And also I got to kind of briefly mention that I had had a miscarriage at the beginning of the teaching year, so that it made more sense as to like what happened at the beginning of the year. And the kids were just so understanding. They're just amazing, tiny little humans. It's incredible. And they were super excited. And so fast forward to like almost the end of the year, we've had a really great year. Physically, for my pregnancy, I had a lot of like the sickness stayed with me up until I was like 5 months pregnant. So that was really hard to go through that. And then also I carried my son all the way until August for 41 weeks. So up until the end of the school year, I was like over 32 weeks pregnant, and I'm just like wobbling everywhere. And we have a pretty big campus at the school that I taught at. It just, for breathing and things like that and being a music teacher, I did not have those things on my side. But like the students were always super understanding, and they were just like super excited about everything. And we still had a really great year, even though like physically I wasn't up to par with how I was the year before. But we still managed to get everything done, and we still did everything, and they still did a great job with their music, and I couldn't have been more proud with them and how everything went. And so I would say probably about April, I made the very difficult decision to step down as the choir teacher, because it is just such a big commitment. And as I was saying earlier in the video, it's not to say that someone who has kids can't do those things. I just know myself personally, and I knew that I wouldn't be able to give myself fully either way if I was teaching and as being a parent at the same time. I just knew I wouldn't be able to do both. And I ended up telling my kids at the end of the year. I had like a little get together with all the kids in the program, and I knew myself well enough to know that I was not going to be able to tell them face to face that I was leaving. And so I recorded a video of myself proclaiming that at the end, telling them that I was going to be leaving, why I was going to be leaving, and all the things. And we got to cry together. I hated so much seeing them so sad, but it was also, nice to see that I meant so much to them, even though I was only there for 2 years, a pretty short amount of time. I did expect to be there longer, and I hated it a lot for the kids who had at this point 3 different music teachers, and I did not want that for them. But also, I had a baby and I had to do what I had to do. And I knew no matter what, regardless if I decided to stay or regardless if I decided to leave and be full-time with Rustin, I knew that either way I was going to feel like I made the wrong choice. And here I am 9 months later, And I still mourn my job every single day. There is not a day that goes by where I don't think about my kids. And they're somebody else's kids now, and that's totally fine. But like that experience that I had with them, those will always be my kids. And those relationships, they don't end, they don't die. I still go on loving them from, and cheering them on from over here. But like, it's hard because you get so used to seeing them every day, and you're excited to see them. You want to hear about their day. And I miss being a part of that with them. And I really do. I miss my job and I miss my kids. But I do have to say that I wouldn't have done anything differently. And I wouldn't have traded my time with Rustin to still be teaching, because I would have missed out on a lot with him. And I don't regret that at all. And I think it's so special that I have gotten to have this time with him, because a lot of people don't get to have that. It's been a hard journey, over here as a stay-at-home mom. It's very different from what my day-to-day was as a teacher. I mean, there's still like routines and things of that nature when it comes to having a baby, but like, that was a baby monitor I'm watching because he's sleeping. Okay, we're good. So in terms of that, I still have that. And, I'm still teaching my child, which I would have been doing as a teacher. So I still have those things going for me. But it's just, it's different. It's a different experience. It's a different feeling. And I can't believe that it's been 9 months already. And I would have thought that at this point that I would have felt more of a relief and a release. And I do have to say that I am very fortunate that the person who took over after me has just really taken that program and just like ran with it. And as a music teacher, that program is like your metaphorical child or your figurative child, like that. It's like your baby because you put so much into it, and those kids are like your babies. And so when you hand that over to someone, it's difficult because you don't know what's going to happen. You kind of have to just like throw your hands up and just hope for the best. And I am very fortunate that the person that took over for me and took that job loves what they do, loves the kids, and has just, really went up from there. And it's the best that I've seen it since I was there. So it's just all really great things, and I could not have asked for better. But, I'm still over here on my end and throughout the year, because there's like milestones and goals that you have to hit as a teacher throughout the year. Over time, I'm kind of just, it's like I get brought back to when I was teaching. And so for right now, at the end of the year, the kids would have been gearing up for their choir concert in May. And we also would be thinking about graduation. And so, my heart is still longing for that, and it misses that. And I don't know if this is ever gonna fully leave me. I don't know where I'm gonna go from here, and it's difficult. It kind of just feels like I'm in a limbo because I don't really know what's gonna happen from here. I really don't know if I want to go back to teaching full time because it is such a big commitment. And honestly, I just had it so good with my last job that I don't know if I could go into somewhere else and just start over again. I just don't think I could do it. So, that's another thing too, is like, I'm not just mourning the job that I had, but now I'm trying to think ahead to like, well, what am I going to do from here? I don't know what's going to happen yet. And that's kind of the beauty of it, is the unknowing, the not knowing. And I'm just going to keep enjoying my time with Rustin while I can, until I eventually do have to go back to doing some kind of work. And this video, I know it's very personally catered to me and my experience, but if you're someone who chose the stay-at-home mom life and you are mourning that chapter of your life, and you're wondering if you made the right decision or not, for me personally, I know I did. As hard as it was to let go and to say goodbye to, and again, I'm still mourning it every single day, I know that I made the right choice because I got to stay here with my son. And, I may not be able to go back to that job, but there's always going to be something. To me, it was worth it. to make that exchange, because he's only going to be little once, and so I wanted to be a part of it, as much of it as I could be. Those of you who decided to go back to work, I'm very proud of you, and I'm proud of you for being a stay-at-home mom too. But for those of you who went back to work, that's hard, because I know that you're having to leave your kid, and I know that it's hard to be away from them, especially if you had to go back really early on because you didn't have much maternity leave. It's difficult. And I honestly don't know how my husband does it, where he goes to work and he's away from Rustin all day. Like, that's hard. And you're worn out. You're going to be tired either way. And so, rest assured, regardless of whatever decision you made, that's going to stay the same. Finding someone to care for your child while you're at work, that's a lot of trust to put into somebody else. And I'm going to be honest, I'm still not there yet. I still don't know if I could trust somebody else to watch my son the way that I would. And that's hard, because eventually I would like to go back to work. But finding a place or someone to care for him to the level at which, I'm able to while I'm here, that's not guaranteed. And so it's just, it's difficult, so that's kind of, on the stay-at-home mom end. You're lucky because of that, because you get to stay at home with your kids and you know how they're being taken care of. Whereas, like, if you're back at work and your kids are in daycare or they're being watched by somebody else, you're putting a lot of faith in other people to do the right thing and to care for your child the way that you would want them to be. And so that's hard too. But I guess the moral of the story for myself in this video is just that I feel in my heart that I made the right choice. And I still feel like there's a huge part of me that still exists at my old job. And I don't know how long it's going to take for that feeling to, dissipate and to fade away. And it's something that I'm still going through every single day. But getting to be here with Rustin every single day, just, I wouldn't trade that for anything. So if you made it all the way to the end of this, wow, thank you so much for listening to me. I really just kind of needed to put this out there because it's just been weighing so heavily on me. And I know it's not a unique experience to myself. I know that there's, everybody goes through this, regardless if you choose to stay at home or regardless if you decide to go back to work. There is a mourning that happens for the life before your child. And you don't regret anything, but there's always going to be that part of you that's sad for what you had to leave behind. And so I guess I'm just saying I'm proud of us. I'm proud of myself for making it this far. And I'm proud of you too for whatever choice you decided to make and for sticking with it and for showing up every day, because it is hard. But we get it done, don't we? So anyway, thank you for being here with me today. Happy Thursday, and I'll see you later.